Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Jason Miyares. Jason, good morning. How are you doing today?
Great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me on, Joe.
Not at all. So much to cover. I want to jump in on the governor's announcement yesterday regarding people who had borne the brunt of punishments in various ways under the previous administration's COVID laws. Certainly headline grabbing over the weekend, Gore Meltz, but so many other places people have lost jobs, lost wages in this. Talk about how your office is involved in this and what is it going to look like going forward for people who may have had severe impact from the previous governor's lockdown.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing everybody needs to understand is you do have some government agencies like ABC that is an independent agency. The board, in this case, the ABC board, is a 5-person board. It's not controlled by me. Definitely not controlled by me. I'm the Attorney General. I'm the lawyer for the Commonwealth, and it's not controlled by the governor right now because the majority of the appointments there are controlled by previous administration, and we obviously know what happened with the lockdown, which led to so much. It was probably one of the, I know for so many small business owners, is one of the most traumatic events they have gone through. It was very, very difficult. Definitely glad we're on the other side. And so, Glenn Youngkin came in. Part of it is there's a lot of reasons why he got elected, but I think there was a sense that Virginians wanted a different approach to things. And I think obviously Glenn, coming from the business background, has a lot of sympathy for the people in this situation. So that is going to be the process is asking and getting all of these agencies to review and handle all of these fines that have happened and suspensions. And I mean, our goal is to realize, listen, we know a lot more now than we did back in 2020 when the pandemic first got on the scene. And now that we're on the other side of it, the governor and I are both looking at numbers where, hey, in some ways it's good. 80,000 more people are working today than when the pandemic hit. That's a plus. The negative is our labor force participation rate, not just in Virginia, but nationally, is not where it should be. Too many people aren't working. We want people back to work. We want job owners to be able to be back in the economic system of Virginia, creating jobs. And so I think it's a good move by the governor, and I applaud him.
It was years and years ago, this fella Cuccinelli was on the air, and he was the first one because, even me, I like to think of myself as somebody who knows a lot of the minutia, but reminded me that, Attorney General isn't the Commonwealth's top cop. He's the Commonwealth's lawyer, or she at some point. But we look upon this, because you're the Commonwealth's lawyer, and we see these stories and we're like, well, what's Jason Miyares doing about it? That's
right.
why I wanted to ask the question in the way I did, because the governor says we're going to have amnesty and we're going to work on this, but then I guess it falls on your office to make some of that work. That was all I was really, pointing out to folks.
We work with the governor, and the governor, we consulted with our office on what legally are the boundaries of what he can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. So we work very closely with Glenn. That is absolutely true. But yeah, there's sometimes that people have a misnomer. ABC actually has their own counsel by statute. So there's sometimes a misnomer of what our powers are and what our powers aren't. And that's okay. I don't want people to be thinking about government every day. I go, part of my job is I want people to get up and live their lives, chase their dreams. And if they're thinking about government all the time, then maybe it's a sign the government is too big, too intrusive, and too all-controlling.
Well, I'm glad
we've never been a government-focused society, and I don't want us to be a government-focused society. I don't think that's not who we are as Americans.
Oh, thank you. That will change the programming of this radio show dramatically if that ever happens, Jason. So I want to pivot off of that to the other big story that kind of got eaten up in this, the story out of Loudoun County, but just this week. Loudoun County School Board dismissed the superintendent. But I don't know if it was the same superintendent. He's only been there since 21. But in wake of the grand jury report, but I understand there's still more to come from the grand jury regarding the Loudoun County schools and the rape of this young lady in the bathroom and the multiple offenses done by this one person, and then the system that seemed to let it happen. Tell us about it.
Well, just so your listeners to know, the background on all this is obviously the Loudoun County made national news for a lot of the wrong reasons with the multiple, the sexual assaults that happened with the same perpetrator in the bathrooms and classroom. And the governor had pledged as a candidate that he was going to review and investigate. I pledged as a candidate the same. And so one of the first acts he did was he executed an executive order directing the Office of the Attorney General to investigate what happened in Loudoun County. That's exactly what we did. And it became abundantly clear that we needed to, in the course of our investigation, impanel a special grand jury to give us additional investigative powers and to produce evidence, which is what we did. We impaneled it in April. I'm very proud of the team, my special investigative team that was set up, Theo Stamos, who is a former Commonwealth attorney. She's very, very good. Very proud of the work they did, both working with the grand jury, producing evidence and witnesses, and having them basically get to the truth of what happened. I had pointed out this is exactly how investigations should work. My special grand jury was impaneled in April. Nobody even knew that it was there. Very different than Washington, D.C., which the Department of Justice you have leaks. The second someone's being investigated, the story is leaked. And even if nothing ever comes out of the investigation, they're getting their reputation absolutely destroyed. We had a special grand jury impaneled. There were no leaks. I'm proud of the work the grand jurors did with a number of witnesses that were produced and the evidence that was produced. But the grand jury report, I thought, showed several things. One, school administrators, they dropped the ball. If you look at the grand jury report, there's so many multiple instances in the grand jury report that raised so many red flags. Exactly at a time when the victims needed the most, school administrators were not providing the proper oversight. Mm-hmm. And in the grand jury report, the second sexual assault that took place, where the student committed a sexual assault and then is transferred to another school and another sexual assault takes place, just shocks the conscience. You had a situation where in the first sexual assault that was taking place in a handicapped bathroom stall, a teacher walked into the bathroom, saw that there were two people in the bathroom stall, did not even report it.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
You had a situation where the mother, in the grand jury report is 24 pages. I encourage everybody to read it. You have the suspect's mother telling the principal that the leniency policies at the school is actually enabling the child, that they are raising concerns about their child's behavior, the day the first sexual talk took place, and the father of the victim showed up, for 3 hours, they couldn't find the perpetrator. He was still on school grounds after the sexual assault took place, but they were more concerned about sending an email out about a disturbance because the father was upset when he showed up to pick up his daughter, and they sent an email out to parents saying there was a disturbance at the school, but it was about the dad. It wasn't about the fact that a sexual assault. You could see systematically what had happened, and I encourage every Virginian to read it. I can't comment too much further because the special grand jury remains impaneled, and all options are on the table, and we're reviewing our options in the Attorney General's office.
Options meaning up to and including perhaps, recommending charges being filed?
All options are on the table.
Okay. All right.
That's all I could say right now, Joe.
I tried.
Yeah.
Joel, one of my listeners, called me earlier and said, especially in the light, and I think pretty incontrovertibly, the election was the election in Georgia, but we see what's happening in Arizona and the mess there. And for heaven's sake, at least we're better here. But Maricopa County uses Dominion machines. Lots of Virginia districts use Dominion machines. What things do you have in play in your office to, give Virginians at least a better feeling about the 2023 elections, even the primaries that are starting to be announced, like in the Senate 12th district?
Well, I mean, I think, listen, I can't speak. I don't look at the voting laws in other states. I know that one thing that we have done is we've always believed it should be easy to vote, hard to cheat. Mm-hmm. And so, part of our job in the Attorney General's office, particularly in the election section with our election integrity unit, is make sure everybody knows what the law is. That's what one thing we had found was that we wanted to make sure there's uniformity, that the registrar at GALAC knows and applies the law the same as the registrar in Fairfax. I think that's just important. Listen, I think the right to vote is a precious thing, and I think it's one of the most important aspects. It's the foundation of what we are as a democracy and a republic. And so I think it's, we have provided guidance. We've also, we did have an incident of an outfit that was texting voters, giving them the wrong place to go vote. They were a political group that was texting people the wrong place to go vote. We essentially had some notification this needs to be ceased right now. So all of our goal is everybody knows where to vote and they go vote, and I think that's important.
Well,
I think that's our purpose. I mean, and if somebody thinks they could violate the law on both sides, if somebody thinks they can intimidate a voter and make sure the voter can't vote, they're going to hear from us. We'll prosecute them. If somebody wants to try to cheat and steal a vote, they're going to hear from us as well. And so that's our purpose, to make sure everybody knows a level playing field. Everybody goes vote. Everybody has confidence in the system. I have confidence in the system. Everything that I've seen, I've been briefed several times by our team, and I think in Virginia we do it pretty well, very well actually.
Now, I know you used to wear a delegate's hat in the General Assembly. They're going to convene in January, and has anyone reached out to your office for guidance on legislation they might try to bring that will tighten up either the period of time?
Well, we've had some discussion. I mean, I am not a fan of some of the laws that were passed during COVID. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of any type of drop boxes. I think, for sure, most importantly, I'm a fan of photo ID. I think that is the quickest, easiest way to secure, make sure that everybody feels confident in their election system. Mm-hmm. And it is, despite the fact that members of the media deride it all the time, it is broadly supported by the American public. It is supported by members of both parties. It's supported by every single racial demographic group. The only group in America today that opposes photo ID are elected Democrats, not Democrats, but elected Democrats and members in the media.
Present company
it is broadly
excluded.
Supported. Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of that, but candidly, I don't know with the makeup of the state Senate whether we're going to be able to make that change.
We can try anyway. I just was curious if anyone had asked your office about it. Jason Miyares, Attorney General, Commonwealth of Virginia. Joe Thomas in the morning, WCHV. There, all the check marks. Last one for you. You have a one pill can kill program. We were talking about this with the new Charlottesville police chief as well regarding, is this about opioid addiction, fentanyl, and that kind of thing, or does it go beyond?
Yeah, well, what it is the cartels and the drug dealers, they are putting out fentanyl. Fentanyl is 50 times more powerful than heroin. Enough fentanyl, my fingernail will kill everybody in the studio there. Enough fentanyl crosses our southern border to kill every American in the country twice over. It is incredibly powerful chemical that's now being laced in everything, not just in heroin, but in marijuana. And now they're putting it in pills. You think, they had a 15 or 14-year-old die in Prince William County because they thought they were taking a Percocet, and it was actually tragically fentanyl. Fentanyl is a deadly killer, and we're dealing with addiction. We lost 100,000 Americans over the last 12 months. We lose 4 Virginians a day to addiction. So one pill can kill is just sending that message how important it is. I just got shared information from a DEA agent. Now they're putting it in Flintstone pills. They literally look like Flintstone pills.
Holy
and so do not put anything in your body. If you're at a party and somebody says, "Here, take this," unless you've gotten it directly from your pharmacist, do not put it in your body. And so one pill can kill as that message. And we've gotten record settlements from the opioid settlements from these pharmaceutical companies. So if you're dealing with addiction, we want you to get help. The biggest misnomer is somehow asking for help is a sign of weakness. Actually, asking for help is an incredible sign of strength. You can go to our website and opioid abatement authority, get help. We want your loved ones want you to get better.
Well,
that's kind of our message.
And in that, I had asked the new police chief in Charlottesville coming down out of Warrenton about the drug gang violence, and the president's talking about, getting assault weapons, but we seem to dance around the fact that so much of the violence that's happening in Virginia cities are involved with these drug gangs and kids with guns, not purchased at a gun store, but handed to them by a drug gang. Can you separate the drug problem from the gang problem, or do we need to deal with it together, Jason?
Well, I think they're both. I think you have a large amount. Our gangs have gotten fractured. Our gangs had a recruitment bonanza when our schools and our churches and our sports activities were all shut down during COVID. And so I had a gang detective tell me, listen, one of the great diversions for youth gangs is churches, after school sports, after school activities. What was shut down for 18 months? All of those. What was not shut down? Gang activity. So you've seen an explosion of different youth gangs. Yes, some of it is territorial. Some of it is over fighting over drug distribution. You really can't separate the two. And so I think you absolutely, if you want to lower violent crime, prosecute repeat violent offenders. That is the single most effective way to lower violent crime, period. And if you want to lower gun violence, address our mental health crisis, because 60% of all gun deaths in this country are suicide. And so I think there's multiple ways to us achieve what we want to achieve. But you can't just ignore the fact that we have a crime problem right now. And a lot of it is, a lenient, dishonest parole system that we had in place. Luckily we have a new governor. But you're also looking at things like, they changed the rules on bail, making it so much easier for people to get back on the street. You have these left-wing prosecutors that will drop charges that have mandatory minimums. So you have some of these prosecutors, you think they're they're social workers instead of prosecutors. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, huge problem.
Well, and I just got scuttlebutt. I haven't vetted it yet that one of our local Commonwealth attorneys has changed the census, or the way the census works on drug court. So even, things that have been put into place to help, folks who are crippled with the addiction, get out of it, through drug courts is being limited as well. It's an amazing place. Even things that help people, we're going to stop doing that, under some political agenda. I share your wish that government stops being so damn important about all these things. Jason Miyares, Attorney General of the Commonwealth, and I appreciate your thoughts and your visit this morning. And again, it's VAOG@virginia.gov.
It's oag.state.va.us. But if you just Google Virginia Attorney General, you get my website.
Thank you so much for your visit. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
And have a Merry Christmas. Think about the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. You can take a look at what we do. Listen to previous programs of Freedom and Prosperity Radio. Read our white papers on different issues. Look at some of the things we've actually accomplished in terms of legislation that has been written and passed and is now law of the Commonwealth of Virginia, thanks to the work here at the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. So enjoy the remainder of this weekend. We give thanks for you tuning in and being involved with the Tuesday Morning Group Coalition and so much of our efforts here at the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. Until next weekend, for all of us here, my name is Joe Thomas. So long, and thanks for all the fish.